it's kind of funny for me. Um, you ever have moments where just technology just doesn't work for you?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, I had to buy a brand new mouse, which was like $6. Um, but I had a mouse that actually was connected to my laptop, and for some reason or another, right before a deadline that I needed to get done, the mouse inadvertently stopped working. And I was like, how is this even possible?
Because
And
you got
all
a
these
$6
other,
mouse.
well, I mean, it was I bought a corded mouse now, so I don't think I'll have any Bluetooth problems. But it was kind of like a Bluetooth problem. I was like, what's going on here? And then, my technology was just kind of acting up. But I mean, it happens to my phone sometimes, happens to my laptop. And I'm just like, I didn't do anything differently. And then all of a sudden, it stopped working. Like, it's like, doesn't work
Sounds
the way.
like you need to restart your computer.
Well, I mean, I restart my computer. Well, I mean, obviously, if people saw my computer, there'd be a whole bunch of tabs. But technologically, I don't know how tabs really work. Leaving them open probably is kind of like opening up a new thing in your brain. It's probably a representation of like ADHD. People with ADHD in their brains, like, oh, everything has like 100 tabs open. That's probably why we can't stick to a topic.
I mean, you can't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you feel compelled to talk about different topics? I feel like I want to
I
talk about
don't feel
everything.
compelled to talk about different topics. Not like not a
Oh,
hundred different topics anyway.
yeah. The power of Christ compels you to only speak about one topic.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I feel like we kind of just hop around and it doesn't.
Help
Feels
anybody.
like we just like it's just like at the whim of your brain.
Brain. Yeah. You're at the whim of my brain.
Yeah,
But I feel like a lot of genius people like talk about different topics because they have
that's
so
the.
much going on in the
Who
brain.
are you referring to? Which genius are you talking
They were
about?
they were just saying that all they were saying Bill Gates had ADHD. They said that um
But Bill
Selena
Gates
Gomez had.
built a $1 billion company.
Well, yeah, that is a huge difference. And I feel like ADHD is such an important mental health focus because I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD, but a lot of people are like, I think you have ADHD. And I was like, okay. And looking at the symptoms and, going through everything, I understand now that I have like low dopamine production, and essentially there's certain things that can keep my attention and some things that can't keep my attention. Uh, as opposed to you, where for you you have.
Is that how that works though? It's like you have attention to some things, you don't have attention to other things. I felt like ADHD was just like you don't have control over any attention.
So this is what I heard and been watching like multiple YouTube videos and get fed in the algorithm. What happens is that your brain has a hard time producing dopamine in the prefrontal cortex, and the low dopamine, like essentially, I mean, this is what I'm saying. And this is what from what I've seen from all the videos for ADHD is that you have low dopamine production, which also inhibits your short-term memory. So you have the attention of something like a regular person. You can hold up to like 7 pieces of information. I can keep up to like three before I forget the three and have to move on to the next three items that I'm trying to keep in my attention. And essentially, dopamine is your is a neurotransmitter or neurochemical that allows you to kind of be motivated. So a lot of times when we're not producing enough, we're not able to, like get things done. We get distracted very easily. It's hard for us to pay attention to small things, and it's just because of our dopamine production. And that's kind of the latest study that's come out that I've been listening to. Obviously I'm not a medical expert, so we're gonna have to fact check ourselves. The fact checker is the fact
No,
checker.
just disclaimer, we're not medical experts.
Yeah, we
I
have a.
like how though you talk to me as if like you are, as like your frontal lobe cortex
That,
doesn't produce enough dopamine.
no,
It's
but
like you're
that's
reading from
a
a
true
medical
statement. It's
text.
like
No, 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 I know, but it's like you're reading from like a medical textbook.
Yeah, and but that's how I get my information, and that's why we have.
Now put those into your own words.
But that's not no, but that's the only thing that I know is that low dopamine production.
What does that mean? I'm a school teacher. It's like, what does that mean? How would you put that into your own words?
I guess for me, it's like you just can't pay attention to things because your brain doesn't produce enough. I had a friend that had a has a wife, and he felt like the wife was a little bit crazy, and I was like, well, maybe it wasn't because the wife is crazy. Maybe she just had like a mental health issue, like depression or something like that, where
So crazy.
well, no, yeah, but I just said, giving the benefit of the doubt, like maybe her brain couldn't produce enough neurochemicals to kind of stabilize that area, in her, depressive state or her feeling sad, and I felt very strongly about this. It's like, oh, maybe it's a chemical issue, maybe it's more of a production issue, like maybe it's more of a supplementation issue versus, you know, just thinking someone's crazy or thinking someone's not capable. I feel like that occurs a lot more often than people giving others the benefit of the doubt and saying like, okay, hey, your brain doesn't work properly, which that person I watched his ADHD vision. I've been following him for a good 3 months now. um woo, woo. I've been watching him for 3 months now, and I'm just consuming a lot of his content.
Hmm.
And he talks about like pink noise, and he talks about brown noise, and that was the funny thing. And I would just wish I could habitually use it, but when I do very mentally intensive work, I have to play brown noise or my brain will not do the work. Like it just has a hard time like focusing on the little things that need to be done for this like project. That's why even for me for editing, like it's tough for editing because editing requires me listening to the audio, and so I can't have brown noise playing while I'm listening to the audio. So I really struggle with those type of tasks. But if it's reading, brown noise it all the way, or pink noise. And then of course, if it's something that I can do that doesn't require my ears, I'll just put on some type of like colored noise to make things a little bit easier for me to cope with.
But
Um,
how is
the
that
focus.
different from like, say, from people who just like listening to music?
Baroque music, like lo-fi.
Yeah, like
It
lo-fi just to do work.
so what and I'm saying I'm not an expert, but
I mean, that's what it
the,
sounds like. That's like from your description. It just sounds like that's what it is.
no, well, so the theory is that there is a whole spectrum of noise that actually goes into your ear. So
Yeah, I mean,
what
I know. Yeah, there's frequencies. Yes, I get
yeah,
that.
yeah, but so for a person with ADHD or someone who has a hard time concentrating or focusing, they have like so things like the birds chirping is distracting me right now. Like the wind like that's going up against the wall is distracting me right now, and I'm trying really hard to focus in. But when you listen to lo-fi music, it actually masks the sounds that are around you. So when you listen to music, it actually creates a barrier. So like when they talk about white noise, and you're like, oh, I need white noise
But
playing to
why?
go to
So
sleep.
then, why aren't you being distracted by the new noise then?
Which noise?
The new noise, the music. Why aren't you being distracted by the music?
So it depends on the rhythms and the beats and the type of frequency as well. But what it does is like I don't know how lo-fi music would work on me. I've never used it, but the reason why brown noise works is that it covers a full spectrum of hertz, and it creates a wall that prevents anything from coming to my ears. So this wall of sound actually prevents noise that comes into my ears that will distract me, that will then like divert my attention from my brain to go into something else.
So do different people have different spectrums that they need to list to
Yeah,
block out?
it's a huge spectrum, and it all varies on how much dopamine your brain can create. And so that's why people like take stimulants. So the funny thing that I realize is that people take stimulants in order to produce enough dopamine to get them to move and do something, versus like if I took a relaxant, and essentially my attention would be all over the place. and that's why caffeine really helps. Like a lot of people take magnesium. The magnesium goes through the blood brain barrier. Fish oil. All these things are known to kind of help people with ADHD that have a overactive, cortex, right? So that's what I've learned, and I could be misspeaking because obviously I'm talking about myself here and not about anything scientific, and then regurgitating information that I've heard from the internet. Googly, googly, googly.
Everyone's an expert on the internet these days,
Oh,
anyway.
right, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and I'm trying really hard not to jump subjects, but I feel like that is what the major issue is with our education system. Is that information is just so readily available where anyone can look it up and become an expert, and they can contest the teacher and be like, well, what you're teaching us is wrong because what I saw on YouTube, yada, yada, yada. And I feel like that's really affecting the education system and
Hmm.
making students like respect their teachers a little bit less. Because I was watching this SNL skit, right? And it was funny. I don't know any of the actors, but it was like a all black school, right? And the teacher's
Okay.
black, and she's like, hey, like, I know that people think that you guys are underachievers and you guys aren't smart. And then after that, the kids are like, what are you talking about? Like, this is like the top school in the nation. It's like we're all honors classes, and this is a STEM program. She's like, well, I'm a teacher. I don't know what to say. And like it was a funny skit. It was one of the top 5 most viewed skits. But um, there was a huge stereotype, right? Thinking that these kids weren't smart and like didn't have like any type of education. But it kind of told the teacher, "I'm gonna play the clip. We'll just play a small clip."
Oh, it's
Um,
like I see. It's like a parody off of those inspirational movies that where this teacher comes into a rural area to
right.
teach kids who don't have a future,
Maybe it's not a rural area. I mean, they had a
or
high.
like a low income area, like a supposedly low income area that have kids that you only have like a 50% acceptance
Well, the thing that they all
acceptance
had
rate.
in common was all the kids were black.
Yeah, and usually usually their settings are in like the Bronx or the projects of like New York or something, some like area that stereotypically
Yeah,
have lower income.
we're like trying to be extra careful with the words we
No,
choose.
I'm saying that's what it is. Like a lot of those movies are that do follow that stereotype. Like I feel like especially in the 90s and the early 2000s, like I saw a lot of movies like that
Right.
where
Yeah,
like there
yeah,
was
that
like
was
some coach or uh some teacher
mentor. Yeah,
kind of comes in halfway through the term, and then he's like, oh, these kids are have no future because they don't believe in themselves, all that kind of stuff, or they don't have the tools or resources, and the teacher works
yeah.
really hard to turn everyone's lives around, and it's like, oh, in the end they all go to college, and then at the credit scene it's just like based inspired by true events or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know where. I mean, you sounded like you just described Sister Act to me, so that's what it sounded like
Yeah,
to me.
exactly. Sister Act. I was actually kind of thinking of Coach Carter with Samuel
I
L.
don't know.
Jackson.
Oh yeah, Samuel Jackson. I could see that. Yeah, he is like kind of one of those motivating type. I mean, I haven't watched too many movies kind of like that, but that's what the skit kind of represented.
Yeah, exactly. The Coach Carter one. That's the one where he's a basketball coach, and all these kids that are playing basketball on his team, they don't have any, they feel like they don't have anything but basketball. But then he shows them like, oh, you still have a future if you study really hard, and he inspires all of them to go to class, go to school, and get good
Love that
grades to go to
community,
college
right? And then do
and play
better for
basketball.
themselves, right? Do better for themselves. Come
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And yeah, so well, I mean, going back to kind of the whole like
That's the
attention thing.
stereotype. That's
Yeah,
that's the, that's the
and
movie stereotype.
right, exactly, and that's what the skit was all about. Is like a lot of times the teachers like I feel like more commonly like teachers have so many things that they need to navigate through, right, with their students, right? So not only do they have like this breadth of information, they have AI now, they have social media. Like I hear a lot of teachers have a hard time